The Lake Forest Podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Looking for the best pool supplies? Look no further than Dohany's Pool Supplies. With a history dating back to 1967, this family-owned business offers everything families need to keep their pools clean and sparkling, from chemicals to equipment. Plus, customers enjoy free shipping on all orders. Visit Dohany's Pool Supplies today at doheny.com, DOHENY.com, to learn more. Forest Bluff Real Estate Team serves Illinois, Wisconsin, Lake Forest, and Lake Bluff. John Josephitis, Laura Lee Van Fleet, and of course Michelle Parnell. Get a free market analysis now at forestbluffrealestate.com. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Havey Communications has been helping first responders arrive safely since 1983. It's owned by Lake Forest's own Mike Havey. Check them out at haveycommunications.com. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters: Matt A., Elizabeth C., Costa, Lance, Otto, RDM, John C., and Helen. Shout out to the Lake Forest Breakfast Group, Rod Stop and Captain Mike's in Kenosha, the Greentown Tavern, and the Frolic Lounge in Waukegan. She gets it.
She's a good. I mean, look, I'm a Republican. She's a Democrat. That said, there's no ideological way to run a treasurer's office. In my opinion, some of those offices, I think other states, they don't even elect them. That's a function of government. Just like here in Lake Forest, we have a Parks and Recreation Department as opposed to an elected park board, because some of these things aren't political. I don't think it's partisan how you run a treasurer's office. But it
is how you act outside the office, because she needs.
Well, look, a lot of times people use these offices for stepping stones to other offices. Look at the history of state treasurers, and a lot of Illinois state treasurers went on to run for other offices. So it's certainly, Illinois Secretary of State, before Jesse White, every Secretary of State, it seemed like, became governor or U.S. Senator. So, but is there really a Republican or Democrat way to run those types of offices? There certainly is when you get into legislative issues. I even think, look, city government, we talked about this in the mayoral election. I don't think there's a Republican way or a Democrat way to run the city of Lake Forest. I think you plow the streets, you pick up the trash, you make sure the parks are clean and the grass is mowed, and all the basics that all the boxes that the city checks every day. There's no Democrat or Republican way to do that. We're not voting on issues like abortion and things like that they do at the national or even state level. So my hat's off to Holly. I think I got to give her all the props, not just for coming on your show, but all the stuff she's doing on social media. She's really embraced it. She's obviously very young for an elected official. There's a breath of fresh air. She's broken a lot of barriers, and we'll see where things go with her. I think she's obviously a rising star. Yeah. The challenge that some people have in those offices is that when they then decide to run for what is an ideological office, they suddenly do have to take stands, and that's where they get caught up. Like Jim Ryan was a good example. Jim Ryan, who would have been one hell of a governor compared to Rod Blagojevich. But he had been an attorney general, prosecutor, very tough. Everybody liked him. He got reelected with ease when he ran. But then when he ran for governor, he suddenly had to start talking about taxes and abortion and all the other stuff that a governor has to deal with. Didn't go so well for him.
Well, what a great interview with Holly Kim, treasurer of Lake County. And when people say, well, Pete, why are you, so passionate or so upset the way other people are treating the podcast? It's not that I want to cry about it. I want to show the right way to do it. Even though she's a Democrat, okay, who who sees both sides, as it appears to me. When you ask her a question, she'll answer it and say,
Sure.
"Here's why," and then come on here. I respect.
Well, and I think, Pete, that you got to remember, she is an independent elected official. You run on the ballot, you stand alone on the ballot for Lake County treasurer. Some of these other offices, they run as a board, they run as a team, and there may be concerns that one is showboating over the other.
Are you talking about pontificating? That always goes on in politics.
Well, but look, I'm not going to get into names, but we've seen a couple people who were on the council that thankfully are no longer on the council, at least one, that pontificated a lot, even in their last meeting. I'm not going to say the name, but it's going to be pretty obvious now with the way I said it. Yeah. But, I mean, I think there's an expectation, is it, if you come, ultimately people are going to judge you, right? And,
no, they're going to vote for you, and
no, but at the end of the day, it's going to be about if you said many times on this, it's what's in it for me. So if the residents feel they're happy about the services, if the garbage is getting picked up, the snow is getting plowed, the parks are in good shape, all the little things day to day that, again, I don't think are Democrat or Republican issues, they're going to reelect whoever's in because they're doing they're doing what they're supposed to do. You see other cities where it's a free-for-all. It's crazy. I mean, we've talked about Dalton a little bit. That mayor there is at war with her own city council or half of her city council, and they tried to recall her, and she's getting $200,000 a year for being the mayor of Dalton and the Thornton Township supervisor, and the Chicago TV station did an investigation on her and stuff. I mean, that's crazy. We don't want that in Lake Forest.
What we
I don't
want,
think the people of Dalton want that. I think the
Joe, I just want transparency. And Holly, whatever the position is, I saw transparency.
Holly's done a great job.
Vince Vega, otherwise known as Anthony Vega, transparency. Okay, both Democrats. So it's not
look. You've got an open
politics thing.
Let me say this. You've got an open door. Anybody that can pick up the phone or send you an email.
They know.
Is there anybody who said, no, you can't be on this show?
I don't know. Let me look at my FOIAs.
Right. So, no, dude, I mean, seriously, I think anyone, you have an open door. And I've told that to anyone and everyone that, hey, and we've talked about this in previous shows. We're going to talk about issues that are happening in town.
And it's going to be our opinions based on the facts that we have at the
time. And look, we're going to work to get the facts. And look, I made a mistake a couple of weeks ago with a parent's care on social issues, and I apologize for that. Yeah, you made a mistake You made a mistake a couple of weeks ago about who was in charge of the caucus several years ago. And once it was corrected, you corrected yourself on the show. So we're going to talk about this stuff. People know where to find you. They know where to find me. Pete at lakeforestpodcast.com, Joe at lakeforestpodcast.com. We'll talk about stuff, right?
Hold on, Joe. The reason I got the fact wrong is because the person that had the information wouldn't come on the show to give it to me. All right, let's talk about the week that was in Lake Forest. The Jewels.
Dude, this is the power of the Lake Forest podcast right here. You, sir. Hats off to you. This
the
is
listeners, the watchers.
This is Pete Jansons. This is the power of Pete. I'm telling you, this will be on your tombstone one day. I hope you live a long life. But whenever that obituary is written, that's going to be like the fourth paragraph.
I want to be like Jimmy Hoffa. I want to be buried underneeth that Jewel parking lot. Right by the Corrals.
I think there's zoning rules against that. But how many? I'm going to confess, I have not been out there yet.
There's 3 out there.
3, okay. Yeah. So that means there's 3 less parking spaces. So somebody's going to complain about that now. But no.
Well,
this is great. The day I moved, look, in my work and in my shopping over my life, I've been to a lot of grocery stores, and especially a lot of Jewel. Back in the day when everybody either shopped at Jewel or Dominic's, and you were a Jewel or Dominic's family. I don't know. We were a Jewel family because we lived near a Jewel.
Butera.
Near our house. But you're like the libertarians.
Yes.
But no, seriously. And so I've been to tons of Jewels in my lifetime, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out why there wasn't a cart corral. It just makes sense, windy days and carts and just common courtesy. But, and yeah, you could wheel it back all the way to the store, but who wants to do that? Like if it's raining out and all that. So I'm glad to see that. It'll be interesting. Let's see how well people use it. I think someone posted in the comments on Facebook a video of from somewhere, I'm not sure where it was, of a guy following a dude who refused to put his cart in the cart corral, and he was shaming him on the internet with that. That was kind of a funny video.
But Joe, that kind of goes.
I hope that doesn't happen here. I hope people just use it. The one issue, Pete, that I think let's see how it plays out. I still don't understand why people park across the street and walk to Jewel if they're going to use a cart. I mean, maybe if you're getting one or two things and you don't need a cart, that's more convenient. But why, forget if there's a cart corral or not, why would you want to walk a shopping cart across a street like Western, waiting for all the cars and all that when there's parking spaces there?
Well,
so
ask our listeners and watchers.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you're a Jewel shopper and you park on the other side of Western and use a cart, here's what I want to know. One, why do you do that instead of using the parking lot? Just out of curiosity, I'm not judging.
Sure.
And two, what are you going to do with the cart now? Well, now that there's these cart corrals, because I don't think you can put cart corrals over there because that's public property. But who knows? Let's see how it goes. But hats off to you, Pete. You talked to the city and you talked to Jewel and you brought people together.
No, I didn't. Here's when you ask the person,
don't sell yourself, George.
Well, I'm kind of tall. When you talk to the person on the street that's looking at because look, to give all credit, it started with Scoo Walker complaining that people don't put the carts away. So I'm like, well, I don't go to Jewel's a lot. I did back in the day, but I went over there and I'm like, where do you put the cart? Well, you put it over there. I'm like, where? There's so now when you ask somebody on the street, why there's no cart corral, somebody will say, well, the city said we couldn't have it. Right? That's the Jewel standpoint. Then you ask the city, they say, well, it's a corporate thing. And the city was right on it, but nobody really knew the answer. So to credit to Kathy Zerniak, even though she poked fun at Uncle Pete, she poked fun. She did
it in a kind and gentle way, sir. She would have said it to your face.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, she could have told me when I was sitting next to her at that city council meeting.
Look, it's a trivial, in the grand scheme of life, it's a trivial thing. That said, there's a reason all these grocery stores have gotten these cart corrals is people's cars got damaged.
Yeah.
From the wind and all that. It's just common courtesy. I always make sure I tell my kids, hey, we got to put the cart back in the cart corral after we go shopping. Because it's just a common courtesy for folks.
It's an inconvenience that when nobody
probably reduces liability for Jewel too, because somebody
but when
if the cart blows under their car.
But Joe, when you accept the status quo and you don't question things, okay, this is what happens. So you get data from the public. Yeah, you do a petition. They say, yeah, we want to have a cart corral. But you don't even need a petition because the corporate store says, hell yeah, we need corrals.
You know where Albertson's corporate headquarters is? It's Boise, Idaho.
Yeah.
So you rattled some chains in Idaho.
I don't think so, because I think I believe a corral.
I just hope Jewel, Jewel is owned by Albertsons and Mariano's is owned by Kroger, and those two companies are merging right now. And I just hope we still have a grocery store in downtown Lake Forest there, because they're talking about, there's a lot of fear of that they're going to close a lot of their locations, and it's tough competing with Walmart and Target and grocery now. So we'll see. I try to support the Jewel in Lake Forest as well as any other store in retailer in Lake Forest as much as I can. So I'm looking forward to using the Pete Jansons Lake Forest podcast Cart Corral.
I support the Lantern Chiefs and Duffers more than I support the Jewels, but credit to Stephanie, who picked up the phone at Jewel and talked to us. So, but a question that not a question, but the feedback that I've been getting, there's a lot of haters on that Jewel, and I don't know why. I know why I don't like it. It's 1986, and it was okay for me the first time going through it. But why do people not like that jewel?
Well, I'm going to tell you. So, in my line of work, I deal with a lot of grocery stores. So, a lot of some of the issues. It's an older jewel. It looks. You go into something like Mariano's has a fresher look. Some of these Heinen's and some of these other places. I just want to go get my groceries. I don't care how the store looks as long as there's not rats running around. I don't really care about the decor of a grocery store. And I kind of joke when they remodel the store. I'm like, well, that means the prices are going up to pay for the remodeling. But, I guess the markets change and everything. The other issue I think some people have with Jewel is, their prices are a little bit higher sometimes than like Walmart or Target. They used to be the only, there was a time when Jewel and Dominick's had pretty much a lock on the Chicagoland grocery market. And there actually was a lawsuit. You go back on Google, you can find this. There was a lawsuit in the early 90s because they found out that Jewel and Dominick's were colluding to fix milk prices. So milk prices actually in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, were higher than they were until like a few months, until this pandemic started and the prices went crazy now. But they had basically colluded on milk prices. There was a lawsuit, and I don't know if it was how it resolved, but and today there's so many grocery choices out there. There's even within Lake Forest, we've got 3 grocery stores. And there's Walmart is out there. I got to tell you that Walmart in Vernon Hills I've seen a lot of Walmarts, and I'm not a Walmart hater. I respect what Walmart's done. But that Walmart in Vernon Hills is like the worst Walmart I've ever seen. It's so small. It could fit within the
love
Jewel.
it.
Yeah, but they don't have half the stuff half the time. Who runs out of milk? They run out of milk, so I got to go to the Target. And that Target next door is one of the nicest Targets because it's a super Target. But I actually ended up going to the Walmart in Waukegan.
Well, I think the way people are going to shop.
That's a super Walmart. And I'm always guaranteed that I will find what I need at the Walmart in Waukegan. If I need,
I will grant you that.
Walmart, but that Walmart in Vernon Hills, it's a crapshoot. If I'm going to find what I want,
I'll grant you the inventory system needs to be corrected. But the way shopping is done, if you have to leave the house to get your goods, it's you park and they put it in there. That's why they got, I want to say maybe 40 different, I don't want to say corrals, but spots where you pull up, they know you're coming, pop the back and they put it in. That's how you're going to get the stuff.
Yeah, a lot of people I'm old school with grocery. I want to see my food before I buy it. I want to look, make sure the fruit is fresh and the salad isn't wilting and all that. But
I've been doing it for 5 years. 5 years. Great.
You never had any
you get issues, but you know what? You just go online. Hey, the turnip, and they just
refund. I mean, that's right. My kids have used it on the online grocery with Walmart, especially during the pandemic and stuff. So, I mean, markets change, markets evolve, and more power to it. But hey, man, there's now a cart corral at the Jewel in Lake Forest, thanks to you, sir.
Thanks to
you brought people together. You're a uniter, not a divider.
Well, it depends. Ask you the. Never mind. So we took care of Jewel. Now next, how about Mayor Randy Tack coming through with a strong call?
Absolutely. I think he turned lemons into lemonade. I think they were put into a very difficult spot very quickly with
Terry McNeely.
Yeah. So we talked about that last week when it all went down. I haven't heard any new developments with that. I think now that but the right thing happened. He resigned. I'm not sure what led him to resign. It's still under investigation. We also have to respect the privacy of the woman supposedly involved at the Starbucks. So that now that thankfully he's a former alderman now. And he is a private citizen, and that's going to work itself out through the legal system in its course. But he is no longer in any position of power. And then Randy was like Johnny on the spot with his appointment for that. And have talked to, I can't tell you, I've talked to people on all different ends of the political spectrum. They're saying this is a home run. This is a great pick.
Grand slam.
I mean, he's a former judge. His father was the mayor of Lake Forest. I mean, what else am I missing? I mean, he's been very active in the community. So I think Alderman Waldeck will serve us well. I didn't know this, again, newcomer Joe, I didn't know this, that we have elections, municipal elections in even numbered years too here. Mm-hmm. I never knew that till now, that they actually, so some of these terms are going to expire next year and you vote in the primary. Now, I want to tell everyone this, and we'll talk more as we get closer to the primary, because I know there's a lot of people that sometimes pull, they don't want to pull a Democrat or Republican ballot. You have an option when in the primary, if there's something on the ballot that is not partisan, so like Lake Forest aldermanic election or a referendum for a local taxing body, you can request from the election judges a nonpartisan ballot. So you won't vote for whoever the presidential candidates are running in the primary and all that stuff, but you can vote in the municipal election as well as if there happen to be a referendum. So, for those people out there that want to stay out of partisan politics because they know it's public record of which primaries you
even though you're a Democrat
or a Republican, then you can just ask for a nonpartisan ballot when you go vote in the primary. But Joe, back to the aldermanic pick. Yeah. I think this is great. I think he has to run again next year. I wish Rick was here because he'll know the law better than me. I'm sure we'll get some clarification on it.
He'll finish out the term. He'll finish out the term, which is like a full 2 years, and then he'll have to get nominated. He'll have to sit in front of the caucus in the chair. He'll be asked questions, and then he'll have. But
I think there are a couple of people on social media saying, this is they're covering this up or anything. I'm going to give on this one. I got to say that in talking to a few folks over at the city, they had no idea about any of this and then he suddenly comes in and says, I'm resigning for personal reasons. So they had, there was no previous record that I'm aware of on him. This is a horrible incident. I feel allegedly again, but if what is alleged happened, it's terrible. It's terrible for the young lady involved. And there's a legal process, both criminal and civil, for her to address that if it indeed occurred. But thankfully, he's no longer in elected office. Can you imagine if he said, I ain't resigning? Screw all you. I'm not, and that's happened. I mean, we got the speaker of the Illinois House, the guy Mike Madigan was really bad, but then he gets replaced by a guy who was arrested for domestic violence 20 years ago against his then girlfriend. So I mean, this
Joe Waldeck's a grand slam.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Yeah, grand slam.
If I was going to stir the pot, because some people accuse me of stirring the pot, you got the husband in, and was Kathy an alderman? I forget. I don't.
I believe she was a guest on your. She's here right on that couch, right behind you there.
I don't want to cause any family problems, but
no. But I think the Waldeck family's done a lot for Lake Forest. I mean, there's a great history there, and he's been outstanding service as a judge. He actually retired as a judge and then came back when they needed some. A backlog on stuff. Rick could probably explain that better than me, but I think this is a great choice, and he will represent his ward and the city very well. And hats off to Randy Tack for doing this quickly and doing it the right way and
quickly and like geniusly,
Yeah,
I don't throw that word genius out too often.
There's a reason I voted for Randy Tack, and there's the reason right there. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to criticize his former opponents, but that I think Randy handled this way better than a lot of people could have. This could have been a disaster. And Randy,
what do you think Prue would have done? What WWPD?
I don't know, and
I don't know.
You have to ask her that question. Unless she decides to make a public comment, you're never going to know. So,
all right. And then last question, are you a golfer?
Allegedly. I'm a really bad golfer. I suck and my arm hurts. What really was kind of good a few years ago is just, I mean, like I embarrassed myself one night at Duffers. I was like, oh, geez. So yeah, I do enjoy watching golf, and I think it's a beautiful sport, and I hope my arm can get a little better. But not to say I was ever Tiger Woods or anything like that, but yeah.
Well, the reason I bring it up, we have trending searches on our site, and one of them is the top golf courses in the area. And we did a show last year on it, and we ranked the top ones. I was wondering, are you any position to give me like your top 3 in the area or top 4 or 5? What?
Let me go ask my son because he likes to play golf a lot more than me.
Oh, bring him on.
Yeah, my son Drew, high school graduate Drew. I'll ask him because he's a but I kind of I'm kind of like I kind of look at golf courses like I do grocery stores. I don't really care about all. I'm not as finicky as some people on that. I think there's a lot of it is beautiful scenery. Do you want to have a great experience when you're playing golf? It's fun. But to me, golf has always been the few times when I did play, it's the experience with your friends and just having, a few hours away from everything else to just, whack away at the ball there. And I think I had some outtakes from Caddyshack and some of my golfing experiences.
Here, how about this? What's your favorite?
My favorite?
Yeah, the best one.
I haven't played anything, dude. I just moved here last year. I have not played any golf courses in Lake Forest.
You live in North Shore, like what?
Okay, I like. I'm a little partial because I grew up in northern Cook County. I always thought the Chick Evans one was okay because it wasn't the best maintained because it's run by Cook County Forest Preserve. But the price was good. I mean, I didn't want to spend an arm and a leg playing golf.
Okay,
I'm a fiscal conservative, dude.
What's the best one? Just answer the question. You ask the guy the time of day and tells you how to build a watch. Best golf course in the North Shore. I don't view it as best one. Best golf course, the Glen. What's it? The Glen.
The Glen.
Okay. No idea what that is. Okay.
It's in the Glen in Glenview.
Okay. Question.
I think it's changed names a couple times, but I like that one. There's a really cool one, and I don't know if it's Glenview or Northbrook, but on Willow Road, it was where the trash dump was. So it's like this mountain, and at the top of the mountain, it's called Willow Hill. There's a golf course up there. You can see the whole city of Chicago whenever it's clear, and when it gets windy, man, it's even putts are an adventure up there, but it's kind of fun. It's kind of cool. So I'm going to defer to my son.
All right. Just put it on
he's the golf expert.
Okay. So we got maybe we'll pick a place each week. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right, fine. So, Joe, is that it? We talked out? You got anything?
Well, I mean, what else we got? Let's see. We talked about
I thought you said
you made a list last night here. Hold on.
Didn't you say
Let me pull up my list on my electronic list that I made?
I thought you were concerned about people worrying that we're crybabies, something like that.
Yes, I think. Look, I think we have addressed the issue. We've been very clear on how you feel about people choosing to or not to come on the show. And I think at the end of the day, look, everyone knows there's an open door here. So if they want to come on, they can come on. And like I said, I think I can see where, there's times that people there's certain things not to discuss. Like I wouldn't discuss that issue with the arrested alderman if I was an elected official because it's a police investigation.
You can't discuss it, but you can once the arrest card is done. You can FOIA it, so you can get the facts that way.
I mean, on that issue, like I said a minute ago, he's a former alderman, so I don't really care about him anymore.
No, I think I think there's a line between being a crybaby and trying to shine light on, hey, this is the issue. This is what needs to be addressed. Because, like, am I going to waste any time with Holly Kim? Like, any questions about her? You know what I mean? the double withdrawals and all that stuff. No, asked, answered, done, move on to the next thing, right? So you address it, and there's more energy stopping people from coming on than just coming on and addressing, the situation. So, and then once you see it in writing where they don't want to let you have a platform, that's you call it a
like I said, we talked about that last week.
I got it.
So I'm just saying.
Well, it's being beat, but you're the one.
Get your dead horse graphic back.
All right, what's on your list? What's on your list?
Hey, hold on, I got sidetracked here. There's a meeting. What is it? Well, we record the show on Wednesdays.
Well, there's
a meeting about the Central Business District this week. Wednesday night, I believe, right?
That would be tonight.
Yeah. So by the time people see this, it'll already occurred. But what's and I wish, like I said, I'd love to hear from people on their opinions on this, because I'm a newcomer to town. My days as a municipal official, we were begging to get any business we could into Morton Grove, especially when we lost App to Glenview. So I've always been of the mindset of any business is a good business, but I get it that there's certain things for certain areas. Yeah. The whole CBD, I think that it became an issue in the campaign, though. Again, Randy's main opponent kind of had one view when she was on the council, and then when she became a candidate against the caucus, tried to latch on to the people who she didn't agree with when she was on the council, supposedly. So,
are you beating a dead horse, Joe?
Perhaps, but I just want to. What do you think, Pete? Here's
what I think.
You live near the CBD. I live out west.
Yeah, I'm an east sider.
What do you want to see in the CBD?
It's not what I want to see.
Central Business District.
I'd like to have like the Altunians come on here, or somebody that owns like tracts of these properties, because in order to rent it, they're going to have to pay a hefty price, and to be a small business to go in there, you can't pay it because look.
No, the rents can be high. I know. I know a business, I won't name the name, that was in downtown Lake Forest that has since moved out to Lake Bluff. So, and she said the reason was she couldn't afford the rent.
That's what I'm saying.
Now, the city doesn't set the rent, though.
I'm not saying the city does, but the city doesn't own those buildings. So, as somebody that owns rental property, okay, you're taking a gamble on the future, and you're paying off a loan, and you can't put anybody. You get more of a tax write-off not having somebody in there than having somebody in there. I'm not a financial.
That's unfortunate. Yeah, and we had that issue in Morton Grove with a commercial property. I won't say where it is now because it's been sold and redeveloped, and is a really good property now for them. But yeah, you do get that where you get landlords that I didn't raise my hand. How did that? I did raise my hand physically, but now it says lower hand. All right, let me hit that. I don't know what happened.
So to me,
I'm just saying. Yeah, that is an issue. And I think this is where this task force can look at that. There are things you can do as a city, like TIFs and things like that. I'm not always the biggest fan of TIFs, though I voted for one when I was a Morton Grove trustee because we really needed to clean up the area near the metro station in Morton Grove. Transit-oriented development has been something that a lot of cities have looked at over the years. I don't, when you ride the metro train, the Union Pacific North line from downtown, and once you hit Rogers Park, after Rogers Park, you start to hit every suburb on the lakefront, and you see what each town is doing with transit-oriented development. And I don't think we want to become like Evanston, where Evanston looks like it's just another neighborhood in Chicago now with everything they've done the last 20 years or so. I don't think we want to be like Highland Park, but at the same time, I don't think we need. We shouldn't be exactly what we are now. Like I said, there's a balance. We should be proud of our past, but focused on our future. With that, and I'd be curious to see how these meetings go. Unfortunately, I have a conflict with another meeting, so I can't attend this. But I think they post them online, so I will try to watch it afterwards. But this is a really engaging topic because I get it that. It's not easy. These are never easy decisions when you want to change what's there. But we talked about this before. I don't think there's people I call them the Flat Earth Society, that don't want to change it. I mean, they probably would have opposed Market Square back in the day.
I get it, and we'll keep hitting that horse. But how do you? I don't even know if I'm right on this on the commercial side of things. Is it better to keep it empty than have somebody in there to get the rent that you need to justify the nut that's there? I don't know if
that's a question for a business owner.
Yeah.
It's not good for the city, though. And that was very frustrating for us when I was a trustee, that you had landlords that would rather have vacant property than not, because the city wants, I hate to use vibrant because that was a word that
that's a great word.
But you want activity, you want stuff happening, and you want the sales tax revenue.
But we're capitalists too. Like, why should we tell them what to do?
And when a business, and here's the thing for the schools, schools don't get sales tax, that goes to the municipal government. But when the assessor bases their value, the assessment of a property on its value, and part of the value is whether it's making money or not. So the assessment goes up, the school district then gets more revenue from that business, and so their fixed levy means the rest of our taxes go down, everybody else in town, because when you add property onto the tax rolls or increase its value, then you, Pete, and me, we pay a little less in property taxes, because to get to that whatever number, $50 million levy or whatever it is that a taxing body does, they have less to tax from you because they make it with that other property. That said, the owner probably is like, I don't want to pay more in taxes. So the question is rent versus that. So that's where I think, some of the things like tax increment financing and some other things, not, like I said, I've seen a lot of abuses of TIFs by some towns over the years, because it's really supposed to be for blighted areas, and I'm not sure.
It'd be kind of cool.
Forest is blighted.
Joe, it'd be kind of cool. The financial lady for Lake Forest, who can't come on. It'd be kind of cool to ask her, like, what would be some hypothetical options? Like, what are the choices that you make?
Yeah, but I think some of these business owners could come on, Pete. Why don't we invite them? The door's all open for anyone to come on, right?
Absolutely.
But let's find some business. If you're a business owner in Lake Forest,
if you're a small business owner, if you're a corporate store, that's the only thing that can survive is a corporate store, because it's a brand name to be in Lake Forest.
I know someone.
Yeah.
I won't say the name here, but I know someone I think would be a very good subject, and I'm working on getting them here.
All right, very good. Thanks for
because of their professional background.
Okay.
But yeah, no, look, development is not an easy issue.
But I mean, is that the issue though? Because in order to get businesses in there, the rent has to be to a place where somebody can make money, and
sure.
and that's not possible right now, because that's just simple common sense market conditions, right?
Right. But how is it that the other towns have very robust business districts compared to ours? I mean, I think we talked about Libertyville, that there's a lot of stuff happening in Libertyville, though I'm sure they'll point out some things that aren't going right there.
Well, I'm sure
the grass is always greener on the other side, but you go up and down Milwaukee and Libertyville 21. There's a lot of little shops and restaurants, a lot of cool vibe there. And, but there's also, if you go back, there's a lot of residential that's gone in there to help support that. So we're going to have to make some choices, right? I mean, you can't say, I want to keep everything the same. And you can't say, I want to bulldoze everything.
Okay. So if we had our way, Kathy Zerniak would come on the show and say, hey, these are the certain restrictions that we have in Lake Forest that we don't have in Libertyville, right? But you can't come on, can't tell us that.
No, but we can find that out.
And
Pete.
Well, that's why we're talking to the viewers, the listeners, the watchers.
We'll get the information. We'll talk about it.
Let us email
it. They'll clarify. I mean,
is that what
it is? I mean, I wouldn't obsess over who comes on and who doesn't. Let's just get the facts.
But I want the head of the snake, Joe.
There's no snakes. There are no snakes in Lake Forest.
Well said, Joe. I just want the info.
But wait, I mean, what do you? I mean, let me. Like I said, you live near the CBD. What do you want to see? You're a resident. You get a voice. What do you want to see in downtown Lake Forest that's not there now?
Live music. So
there more than the karaoke night at the Land?
I think the next level up, but that's noisy. I want a bigger joint to play in.
That's right. You got what's your band?
It's a Blondie cover band, Heart of Glass.
Blondie. Wow.
Oh yeah, Blondie.
That's, I mean, yeah, that's when we do the Pete Jansons interview one day, we'll talk
Well,
about
you're getting
that.
a whole lot of information right now. Um, so what would I like to see? I want the market to dictate it. Okay.
Sure.
So whatever somebody wants. This is America, and they want to take a leap of faith, and they're going to do a business plan. That's what I want people to make money, right? Whatever it is, make money. And
But what about if in order to do that, you need some infrastructure
so that means
improvements
you have to raise taxes,
or
right?
you do tax increment financing,
Okay.
which is, I mean, we could do a whole show on tax increment financing where you
I'm
basically
stupid. What is
freeze.
what is a TIF, Joe?
It is, gosh, well, it causes a lot of tiffs. I'm a little rusty at this, and maybe we
Take your
can
best
get.
guess.
I'll do some research for
See
future
the way,
shows.
because if we get it wrong, then we'll have 100 people telling us the right way to do it, right?
But you basically you take the incremental growth of what the taxes would be, and you put it into a fund that then helps pay for things like streetscaping, new lighting, all that. So you don't raise taxes on the rest of the residents. So it's like I said, it was designed when the law was signed. I think it was signed by Governor Thompson way back. It was to help blighted areas. It's kind of like on the federal level. Ronald Reagan used to talk about enterprise zones and things like that.
Yeah.
But now, like I said, the definition of blighted has become, subjective thing. And I think anybody outside of Lake Forest would laugh if anything in Lake Forest was called blighted. So, but that said, you can do that. Now, where it causes the tiff about TIFF, is the school districts lose, they don't get the growth of revenue that they were supposed to. So it impacts their revenue, and then they supposedly have to raise taxes on it. And some of these TIFs lead to more families coming in with kids. And so a lot of times the cities and the school districts negotiate agreements to help pay for those kids. The Glen in Glenview was a good example of that, where it brought in tons of new kids like mine, and causing a huge financial impact on the school districts. But the village was getting all sorts of new revenue. So they negotiated an agreement that funds based on the number of kids. So everybody in the Glen every year they had a census, and you had to report how many kids you had and what school they went to and the grades and all that, so that the school district could tally up what they were owed from the village of Glenview. So that's, again, very complex stuff. It's not easy decisions. And then again, you throw in the other issue of people that live near the CBD get upset when there's anything changing. You saw that with that house on Westminster, where people they got so violent that they verbally assaulted Stu Walker and his wife and dog. So I mean, that's
Turkish
people aren't there's a lot, like I said, I call it the Flat Earth Society, where they're just against any change. I think these same people 100 years ago would have been against Market Square. So, I mean, there's a delicate balance. We don't want to bulldoze the whole downtown and make it look like a brand new city. There's a balance, and there's things, but over the years, there's been buildings built in the CBD that I don't think I won't name them, but there's things like that were built in the 60s and the 70s that you kind of look at like, should they put that in here? And maybe this is the time to get that right and work, again, balancing free market and things like TIFs. But that's what these committees are all about, to talk about it. And you're never going to get 100% buy-in on something.
All right. So I'm gonna make another bet, Joe. Whatever this CBD thing that comes out, Turkish people will come out with no, because the money that could have went for the TIF could have went for planting a tree, right? For lack of a bet, right?
Well, you could use TIF money to plant trees. That is an acceptable use of TIF funds.
Right. So that's what they're going to come out, or, insert, I don't want to say tree hugger, or what's the political correct way to say that? Social social spending.
We got a lot of trees in Lake Forest now, man. And Mr. T found out the hard way. You don't mess with the trees in Lake Forest.
Yeah, but he was taking out weeds.
And there's actually, the Lake Forest Now app, actually, you can go on it and you can see where they have inventory. The Public Works guys did a great job with this. They have inventoried every tree that is on public property.
That's why they got the tags, I think, right?
In Lake Forest, and you can pull it up. So if you're planning like a development or looking at maybe putting a tree in, you can see what the trees are on the public side to kind of have something that goes along with that and stuff like that. Really cool feature. Like we were playing around with it the other day just to see what the trees were in our neighborhood. So hats off to Public Works guys.
Public Works. If we could get them on, sanitation guys, love you, man.
They're too busy. They're too busy to go on the show. They're working, Pete. They don't have time to sit and
I will drive. I'll ride a beat. I will ride a beat with the.
Talk to them at the Lantern after work.
So, Joe, the last thing I have on my list is okay. Be very quiet, because I think John Venson is still asleep at the school board meeting last night. Don't wake him up.
Oh, is that?
That's the secretary of the District 115 school board. Just
I sat on the school board for 8 years, and there were times I wanted to doze off. So maybe
did you?
I don't know.
Did you?
Statute of limitations, sir.
Okay.
Unless what were they talking about? What were they discussing when he?
Well, it was, Montgomery he's getting into the weeds of where the money's going that he maneuvered through us. But it's either the secretary was snoozing or he was doing his Barbara Eden. Was
he snoozing or was he looking down? Because the snapshot I saw that you sent me, he might have been just reading. I don't know. I mean, sometimes I look down and I don't know. I don't know.
Could be wrong.
You can clarify it.
I've just had
I'll try to give the dude. Maybe he's got a sleep disorder, dude. And we got to respect it. I don't know.
Perfect. As we're trying to figure out metrics for
that happens in workplaces now, where somebody gets written up for sleeping on a job and they get a doctor's note that says I got a sleep disorder. So I don't know.
Not for the school board.
I mean, listen. Anybody? Look, I did. No matter how much I disagree on an issue with someone that's on an elected board, I got it. I did this for 12 years, and it can be brutal, man. It's like you get paid little or nothing. You got to sit there. You got to go to your regular job during the day. You got to do this, and some of these meetings go till like midnight, 1, 2 in the morning, and you got to go to work the next day. And people are. Either it's a heated issue where everybody's fighting, or it's a really boring issue where it's like, come on, let's just get it over with. Again, I don't know the circumstances of this with him. But yeah, it could be embarrassing I'm just glad they didn't have videos of my meetings, because I don't know, I might have nodded off with one of school.
I just had people say
school board meetings back in the day.
I just say there's Dr. Venson.
It is important when you make a presentation at a meeting or anything that you make it exciting and make it lively and make it short, brief.
It's also, if you're on the caucus, that you get people that'll stay awake in the meeting. Just saying.
Maybe we should donate a pot of coffee for the school board meetings.
This podcast is sponsored by Melatonin. Oh, that's another show. All right. Joe, another riveting show. I'm
riveted.
I feel vibrant. Way to go. Way to go.
Yeah.
All right, Joey, later. Bye.
The Lake Forest Podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Looking for the best pool supplies? Look no further than Dohany's Pool Supplies. With a history dating back to 1967, this family-owned business offers everything families need to keep their pools clean and sparkling, from chemicals to equipment. Plus, customers enjoy free shipping on all orders. Visit Dohany's Pool Supplies today at doheny.com, DOHENY.com, to learn more. Forest Bluff Real Estate Team serves Illinois, Wisconsin, Lake Forest, and Lake Bluff. John Josephitis, Laura Lee Van Fleet, and of course Michelle Parnell. Get a free market analysis now at forestbluffrealestate.com.
For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Havey Communications has been helping first responders arrive safely since 1983. It's owned by Lake Forest's own Mike Havey. Check them out at haveycommunications.com. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters: Matt A., Elizabeth C., Costa, Lance, Otto, RDM, John C., and Helen. Shout out to the Lake Forest Breakfast Group, Rod Stop and Captain Mike's in Kenosha, the Greentown Tavern, and the Frolic Lounge in Waukegan.